The crimson light of Proxima Centauri painted the colony's protective dome in shades of deep red. Horizon Point was humanity's newest achievement, a thriving settlement of 50,000 souls on a world 27 trillion miles from Earth. The colony had grown from a simple outpost to a bustling hub of human activity in just 5 years. On this particular morning, the colony's defense officer noticed something unusual on his screens. At first, he thought it was a sensor malfunction, a cluster of objects moving at speeds that shouldn't have been possible with known technology. But as more data poured in, his face grew pale. These were ships, dozens of them, and they weren't following any known human flight patterns. Aboard the U.S. Prometheus, Captain Hannah Lee was overseeing what should have been a routine systems check. The prototype battleship represented Earth's most advanced military technology, though much of it remained untested. Its hull gleamed under the distant starlight, a masterpiece of engineering that borrowed heavily from theories that most scientists still considered controversial. "Captain," called out Communications Officer Topark, his voice cutting through the quiet hum of the bridge. "Priority 1 transmission from Horizon Point." Lee straightened in her command chair, her expression serious as the message played. The colony's governor appeared on the main screen, his face tense with worry. "Unknown vessels approaching. No match in our database. Numbers suggesting a fleet of at least 30 ships. We need immediate assistance." Lieutenant Jeho Park's fingers danced across his console at the weapons station, running diagnostics on a quantum targeting array. The system was so new that the paint had barely dried on its housing. His hands trembled slightly as readings flowed across his screen. The targeting computer was showing capabilities far beyond anything in the testing simulations. "Engineering reports all systems operational," announced Chief Engineer Kim through the ship's comm system. "But Captain, I must remind you that we haven't completed full testing on the primary weapons array." Lee nodded, her mind already racing through scenarios. The Prometheus was the only military vessel within range of the colony. Its experimental systems might be untested, but they were all that stood between Horizon Point and whatever was approaching. "Show me the sensor data," Lee ordered, and the main view screen filled with tactical information. The approaching ships moved with a precision that seemed impossible, their formation shifting like a flock of birds. Their energy signatures were off the charts, suggesting technology far more advanced than anything humanity had encountered before. "Multiple electromagnetic pulses detected," reported Lieutenant Park, his voice steady despite his nervousness. "They're scanning the colony. And us." The bridge crew watched as more data poured in. The alien ships were massive, each one nearly twice the size of the Prometheus. Their hulls seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, making them appear as moving voids against the star field. "Time to intercept?" Lee asked, though she already knew the answer would be too soon. 23 minutes at current speed," replied Navigation Officer Song. Lee stood from her chair, walking to the tactical display. The Prometheus had been built with every advantage Earth's scientists could imagine. Quantum-enhanced shields, experimental weapon systems, and an AI core that could process combat data faster than human thought. But none of it had been tested in actual combat. "Send word to the colony," she ordered. "Tell them to activate their emergency protocols and get everyone to the shelter areas. Then get me a direct channel to Earth Command." As the crew carried out her orders, Lee studied the approaching fleet. Something about their formation nagged at her tactical training. They were arranged in a pattern that seemed familiar somehow, like a half-remembered dream. The realization hit her just as Earth Command responded to their signal. These ships were using the same basic formation patterns found in the database of the crashed alien scout ship, the very same ship whose technology had helped build the Prometheus. "This is no coincidence," Lee muttered, just as the first alien transmission cut through their communications channels. The message that followed would change humanity's understanding of its place in the galaxy forever. But in that moment, all Captain Lee knew was that her untested ship and inexperienced crew were about to face something far beyond what any of them had trained for. Around them, the experimental systems of the Prometheus hummed with power, ready to prove whether humanity's greatest technological gamble would pay off, or if they had simply built an elaborate tomb for themselves amongst the stars. Captain Lee watched the alien fleet's movement with growing concern. Each ship moved with perfect precision, their formation shifting like a single organism rather than individual vessels. The display showed 32 ships, their dark hulls absorbing the crimson light of Proxima Centauri. "Status report," she demanded, her fingers drumming against the armrest of her command chair. The bridge crew worked with focused intensity, each person knowing that the lives of 50,000 colonists depended on their performance. "Reactor cores stable at 95%. Captain." Chief Engineer Dae-Sung Kim's voice came through clear on the comm. "The modified containment fields are holding better than expected. Whatever we salvaged from that crashed ship, it works better than our simulations predicted." Lee nodded, studying the tactical display. The alien ships had arranged themselves in a pattern that reminded her of ancient naval warfare, a blockade formation designed to cut off all escape routes. Their confidence was clear in every move they made. Below on the colony's surface, Governor Yuma Song stood in the emergency command center, surrounded by screens showing the status of various shelter zones. She had ordered all 50,000 colonists into the underground bunkers, but they were never designed to hold people for more than a few days. "How many made it to the shelters?" she asked her assistant. 47,000 so far. We're still moving the hospital patients and elderly from the outer districts." The governor's hands clenched into fists. No evacuation ships were within range. The nearest help was 3 weeks away at maximum speed. Everything depended on a single experimental warship that hadn't even completed its testing phase. Aboard the Prometheus, Lieutenant Park monitored the quantum targeting array. The system drew heavily on technology they barely understood, reverse-engineered from the crashed alien scout ship found on Mars 5 years ago. The targeting computer showed capabilities far beyond anything humans had built before, but its power consumption was enormous. "Captain," he called out, "targeting array is operational, but it's drawing more power than expected. We might need to reduce shield strength if we want to fire at full capacity." Lee frowned. Every decision now was a gamble with lives at stake. "Keep the shields at maximum for now. We don't know what kind of weapons they have." The aliens hadn't fired yet. Their ships maintained their blockade formation, as if waiting for something, or someone. Chief Engineer Kim's voice came through again. "Captain, I've been analyzing their engine signatures. There's something odd about them. They're using some kind of quantum field manipulation, similar to our own systems, but more refined. It's like they're using a more advanced version of our own technology. Or we're using a more primitive version of theirs," Lee muttered. The implications were troubling. If these aliens were the source of the technology they'd reverse-engineered, they might know exactly what the Prometheus was capable of, and more importantly, its limitations. In the colony, Governor Song received a report that chilled her blood. The alien ships were deploying smaller vessels, hundreds of them, forming a web around the colony's airspace. Any hope of last-minute evacuation was now gone. "Governor," her assistant called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the alien fleet. They're requesting to speak with both you and the captain of the Prometheus." Aboard the warship, Lee received the same message. She exchanged a quick look with her communications officer before responding. "Put them through, but maintain weapons lock. The first sign of hostile action, I want those quantum torpedoes ready." The main screen flickered to life, and for the first time, humanity saw the face of their visitors. The bridge crew stared in shock at what appeared before them. None of them had expected this. The alien commander's features were unsettlingly familiar, yet fundamentally wrong in ways that made several crew members look away. It spoke in perfect English, its voice carrying undertones that made the ship's AI translation software struggle to keep up. "You have something that belongs to us," it said simply. "The technology you've stolen. The secrets you've taken from our scout ship. Did you think we wouldn't notice? Did you think we wouldn't come to reclaim what is ours?" Lee's mind raced. The crashed ship had been humanity's greatest technological leap forward, But now it seemed that advancement had come with a price. They hadn't just borrowed alien technology. They had stolen it from a civilization advanced enough to track its use across light years of space. The next few minutes would determine not just the fate of Horizon Point, but possibly the future of human-alien relations for generations to come. And Captain Lee had to make decisions using experimental technology that she now knew belonged to the very beings threatening them. The calm before the storm was ending. Soon, the Prometheus would have to prove whether humanity's adaptations of alien technology could stand against its original creators. The bridge of the Prometheus fell silent as the alien transmission cut through their communications. The metallic voice seemed to come from everywhere at once, its artificial tones carrying an unmistakable threat. "Your presence is a transgression," it declared, each word precise and cold. "This system belongs to the Meridian Collective. Surrender or be eliminated." Commander Sun Mi Cho's fingers flew across her tactical console, analyzing the massive energy readings from the alien fleet. Their weapon systems were lighting up her displays with patterns she'd never seen before, except in one place. "Captain," she called out, her voice steady despite the tension. "Their energy readings are off the charts. But there's something familiar about their shield configuration. It matches the theoretical models we developed from the crashed ship." Captain Lee stood from her command chair, moving to study Cho's readings. The similarities were unmistakable. The aliens weren't just using similar technology. They were using the exact same principles that Earth's scientists had spent years trying to understand. "How long until they're in weapons range?" Lee asked, already forming a plan in her mind. 3 minutes at current speed," Lieutenant Park reported from his station. "Their smaller vessels are moving to surround us." Lee turned to her engineering station. "Status of the stealth system." "Ready, Captain," Chief Engineer Kim responded. "But we've never tested it under combat conditions. The power drain will be significant." The alien ships continued their approach, their formation tightening like a noose around the Prometheus and the colony below. Each vessel moved with perfect coordination, their black hulls seeming to swallow the starlight. "All hands, battle stations," Lee ordered. "Engage stealth systems on my mark." She took a deep breath, knowing her next decision could save or doom them all. "Execute." The Prometheus shimmered and vanished, not just from visual sight, but from all known methods of detection. The experimental stealth system, based on quantum field manipulation, bent space itself around the ship. For several tense seconds, the bridge crew held their breath, waiting to see if it would work. On their screens, they watched as the alien fleet's formation suddenly broke apart, their perfect coordination dissolving into what could only be described as confusion. The smaller vessels began sweeping patterns, obviously searching for their suddenly vanished target. "It worked," Commander Cho whispered, almost in disbelief. "They've lost us completely." But Captain Lee knew they had limited time. The stealth system was draining their power reserves rapidly. They would have one chance to make this count. "Navigation, bring us about," she ordered. "Take us right through the center of their formation. Weapons, prepare quantum torpedoes. Set them to minimum yield. We're not trying to start a war." The Prometheus glided silently through space, passing so close to one of the alien capital ships that the crew could make out details of its hull plating through the viewports. The alien vessels continued their search pattern, completely unaware of the invisible predator in their midst. "Power reserves at 60%, Engineer Kim reported. "We need to act soon, Captain." Lee nodded. Their window of opportunity was closing. She studied the tactical display, watching the alien ship's movements. They were spreading out, widening their search pattern. "Perfect. Target their lead ship's propulsion systems," she ordered. "Minimum power, surgical strikes only. We're going to show them we could have done much worse." Commander Cho's fingers danced across her console, inputting the targeting solutions. "Ready, Captain. Fire." The quantum torpedoes phased into existence just meters from the alien flagship's engines, their reduced yield still more than enough to cripple the massive vessel's ability to maneuver. The effect was immediate. The alien ship lurched to one side, its perfect formation breaking apart as emergency thrusters fired randomly. The Prometheus dropped its stealth field, reappearing directly above the disabled flagship. The message was clear. They could have destroyed it entirely, but chose not to. The alien communication channel crackled to life again, but this time the metallic voice held a note of what might have been respect. Impressive use of our technology, humans. Perhaps we underestimated your species' potential. Captain Lee allowed herself a small smile. Phase 1 of her plan had worked. Now came the hard part, making them understand that humanity wasn't just copying their technology, but improving upon it in ways they hadn't imagined. "This is Captain Lee," she responded. "We should talk about the meaning of the word transgression, and perhaps about the future of peaceful cooperation between our species." The next few moments would determine whether they had earned the aliens' respect or simply angered them further. But one thing was certain. The Meridian Collective now knew that humanity was not to be underestimated. The alien commander's response to the Prometheus's demonstration was not what Captain Lee had hoped for. Instead of opening negotiations, the Meridian Collective ships suddenly blazed with energy. Dozens of plasma torpedoes streaked toward the colony's protective shields, their brilliant blue trails cutting through space. "Multiple incoming," Commander Cho shouted, her displays lighting up with threat warnings. "They're targeting the colony's main shield grid." But Captain Lee allowed herself a small smile. This was exactly what they had prepared for. Activate the point defense grid. Let's show them what Dr. Kang's improvements can do. The Prometheus's defense system sprang to life. Originally designed by Dr. Jin Woo Kang from studying the alien scout ship's defensive matrices, the system had been completely reimagined with human innovation. Instead of simply blocking incoming fire, it predicted attack trajectories and intercepted them at their weakest points. Brilliant flashes of light erupted across space as the defense grid engaged. Each alien torpedo met a precisely calculated burst of energy, detonating harmlessly far from the colony shields. Not a single projectile made it through. Impossible. The alien commander's transmission cut through their communications, their normally controlled voice cracking with shock. "Your technology. How? Those defense patterns, they're beyond even our current capabilities." The truth was elegant in its simplicity. While the aliens had mastered their technology through generations of gradual advancement, humans had approached it with fresh eyes and desperate innovation. Dr. Kang had seen possibilities in the alien systems that their original creators had never imagined. "Their second wave is launching," Commander Cho reported. "They're adjusting their attack pattern." This time, the alien torpedoes came in a complex spiral formation, designed to overwhelm any standard defense grid. But the Prometheus's systems were far from standard. The point defense grid shifted its focus, creating a web of intercepting fire that caught the incoming weapons in a devastating crossfire. Engineering reports defense grid operating at 118% efficiency. Lieutenant Park called out. Dr. Kang's modifications are actually improving performance under combat conditions. Captain Lee watched as her ship's defenses continued to prove their worth. Each successful intercept seemed to frustrate the alien fleet more, their attacks becoming increasingly desperate and uncoordinated. "Send them a message," Lee ordered. "Show them the sensor logs of how we've improved their technology." The data streamed across space to the alien flagship. For several long moments, there was silence. Then the alien commander's image appeared on their main screen, their expression unreadable but their voice carrying a note of something new. "Respect. You didn't just copy our technology," they said slowly. "You understood it, improved it. Our defense systems have followed the same patterns for centuries. But you saw possibilities we never considered." "Humans are good at thinking outside established patterns," Lee replied. "We had to be. We didn't have centuries to gradually improve the technology. We had to make it work better, faster." Another barrage of alien weapons launched, this time clearly meant as a test rather than an attack. The Prometheus's defense grid responded automatically, creating new intercept patterns that adapted to each incoming threat. "Your species continues to surprise us," the alien commander admitted. "Perhaps we were hasty in our judgment of your presence here." But before negotiations could continue, warning alerts blared across the Prometheus's bridge. Commander Cho's face paled as she read the incoming data. "Captain, they're powering up something massive. Energy readings are off any scale we have. This isn't like their previous attacks." The alien fleet was shifting formation, their ships arranging themselves in a pattern that none of their tactical computers could recognize. Whatever was coming would test Dr. Kang's improvements to their absolute limit. "All power to the defense grid," Lee ordered. "Let's show them what humanity can really do when pushed to our limits." The Prometheus's systems hummed with power as they prepared to face whatever the Meridian Collective had planned. They had proven they could match and exceed alien technology in one area. Now they would have to prove they could survive whatever came next. The alien commander's next transmission was brief but clear. "Let us see if your improvements can handle our primary weapons. Prepare yourselves." In the following moments, the darkness of space itself seemed to bend as the alien fleet prepared to unleash their full power against the lone human ship and the colony it protected. The alien fleet's primary weapon transformed space into a kaleidoscope of deadly energy. As the attack approached, Lieutenant Min Ji-Quan worked frantically at her station, interfacing with the ship's AI core. The artificial intelligence system, which she had nicknamed Echo during its development, was their best chance at survival. "Echo, analyze their attack pattern," she commanded, her fingers flying across the holographic interface. "Cross-reference with all known Meridian Collective technologies." The AI processed combat data at speeds no human mind could match. Through its quantum processors flowed terabytes of information: shield frequencies, weapons signatures, energy patterns, and countless other variables. Echo compared this data against everything they had learned from the crashed scout ship. "Analysis complete," Echo's calm voice announced, detecting significant harmonic resonance in alien shield matrix. Pattern matches theoretical flaw identified during reverse engineering process. Quan's eyes widened as she understood what Echo had found. When human engineers had studied the alien shield technology, they had discovered and corrected a fundamental flaw in its harmonic frequency. The Meridian Collective, having used the same technology for centuries, had never noticed it. "Captain," she called out, her voice cutting through the tension on the bridge. Echo found something. "Their shields. They're using an outdated harmonic system. We solved this problem months ago in our own designs." Captain Lee turned from the tactical display, where the alien energy weapon was still building power. "Explain." "Their shield harmonics create a resonance pattern. If we hit it with exactly the right frequency from our quantum torpedoes, we could collapse their entire defense grid." The massive alien weapon finished charging, its energy reading now off all their scales. They had seconds to act. "Echo, calculate targeting solution," Lee ordered. "Route all available power to the quantum torpedo system." The AI worked faster than thought, its quantum processors computing millions of variables in microseconds. "Target solution ready. Recommend concentration on alien flagship. Warning: power requirements will leave defensive systems at 15% capacity." The alien weapon fired, sending a wave of pure energy toward the Prometheus that threatened to tear space itself apart. They had one chance to get this right. "Target their flagship," Captain Lee ordered, her voice steady despite the approaching doom. "All power to the quantum torpedo system." Commander Cho's fingers danced across her console, implementing Echo's targeting solution. The Prometheus's experimental weapons powered up, drawing energy from every system except life support. Their shields dropped to dangerous levels, leaving them almost defenseless. The quantum torpedoes launched just as the alien energy wave reached them. They watched in awe as the torpedoes phased through the energy attack, their specially tuned frequencies making them virtually invisible to the alien weapons. The flagship's shields shimmered as the torpedoes approached. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then Echo's calculations proved perfect. The torpedoes hit at exactly the right frequency, setting up a catastrophic resonance cascade through the alien shield matrix. The resulting explosion lit up the Proxima Centauri system like a newborn star. The flagship's shields collapsed spectacularly, the energy release creating a chain reaction that disabled the shields of nearby vessels. The alien fleet's formation broke apart as ships scrambled to restore their defenses. "Direct hit," Cho reported, her voice filled with disbelief. "Their entire command and control network is disrupted. Shield systems are offline across 40% of their fleet." The alien commander's image appeared on their screen again, but this time their composure was completely gone. "How? How did you know about the harmonic flaw?" "We didn't just copy your technology," Lee replied. "We studied it, understood it, improved it." Echo, show them the shield modifications we made to prevent this very vulnerability. The AI transmitted the technical data, showing how human engineers had redesigned the shield harmonics to eliminate the resonance problem. The aliens received the data in silence, their tactical displays showing their fleet in disarray. "Your eye," the alien commander said slowly. "It processes combat data more efficiently than our best systems, and these improvements to our technology. Perhaps we have much to learn from each other." The remaining alien ships powered down their weapons, their aggressive postures shifting to something more cautious. The battle had reached its turning point, but Captain Lee knew this was about more than just military victory. This was humanity's chance to establish itself as equals rather than primitives to be conquered. "Perhaps," she replied, "we should discuss how our species can benefit from cooperation rather than conflict." Echo continued to monitor the alien fleet, its quantum processors ready to detect any sign of deception. But for now, at least it seemed the Meridian Collective was ready to talk. The peaceful moment after their successful strike lasted exactly 32 seconds. Then the alien fleet proved why the Meridian Collective had dominated this sector of space for centuries. Their ships moved with renewed purpose, forming a new attack pattern that Echo's combat algorithms couldn't recognize. Multiple energy spikes. Commander Cho's warning came just as the first volley hit. The Prometheus shuddered as alien weapons fire hammered its shields from all directions. "They're using some kind of concentrated quantum beam weapons, shields at 60% and dropping." In the engine room, Chief Engineer Kim watched in horror as power readings spiraled into the red zone. The experimental reactor core pulsed with dangerous levels of energy as it struggled to maintain shield power. But as he studied the quantum fluctuations in the core, an idea began to form. "Bridge, this is engineering," he called out, his mind racing through calculations. "I might have a way to end this, but it's never been tested, not even in simulations." Another hit rocked the ship. "Shields at 45%, Cho reported. Sparks flew from an overloaded console on the bridge. "What's your idea, engineer?" Captain Lee's voice remained steady despite the chaos around her. "The reactor's quantum fluctuations," Kim explained, his hands already moving to modify the core's containment fields. "We're trying to suppress them, but what if we did the opposite? We could create a cascading quantum wave that would disrupt their weapons completely." "Side effects," Lee demanded as another blast shook the ship. "It could tear the Prometheus apart," Kim warned, his voice grim. "The quantum cascade would affect our systems too. We'd be gambling everything on one shot." Through the view screen, they watched as the alien fleet coordinated their fire with terrifying precision. Each shot targeted a specific portion of their shields, systematically wearing them down. "Shields at 30%, Cho called out. "We can't take much more of this." Captain Lee gripped her command chair as another blast rocked the bridge. All around her, warning lights flashed and alarms blared. The Prometheus was the most advanced ship humanity had ever built, But it was still being overwhelmed by superior numbers and centuries of alien technological development. "Sometimes the best defense is a good offense," she said firmly. "Do it, engineer. Full power to the quantum cascade." Kim's fingers flew across his console, redirecting power from every non-essential system. The reactor core began to pulse with an eerie blue light as he carefully dismantled the safety protocols one by one. "Echo," Lee called out to the ship's AI. "Analyze the quantum cascade effect. Give us the best possible targeting solution." The artificial intelligence processed the data in milliseconds. Quantum cascade will affect a spherical area approximately 2 light minutes in diameter. Recommend positioning ship at coordinates marked 370 for maximum effect. "Helm, move us into position," Lee ordered. "All hands, brace for impact. This is going to get rough." The Prometheus maneuvered through the storm of alien fire, its shields now barely holding at 15%. In engineering, Kim watched as the reactor core's quantum field began to destabilize exactly as he had planned. "Quantum cascade reaching critical threshold," he reported, his voice tense. 10 seconds to full release. The alien fleet seemed to sense something was wrong. Their ships began to break formation, but it was too late. "Now, engineer," Lee commanded. Kim released the final safety lock. The reactor core erupted with pure quantum energy, sending waves of reality-distorting power in all directions. The cascade effect spread like ripples in a pond, but these ripples bent space itself. The effect on the alien fleet was immediate and devastating. Their quantum-based weapons systems overloaded and shut down. Ships spun out of control as their engines failed. The carefully coordinated attack dissolved into chaos. But the Prometheus wasn't spared. The ship groaned as quantum forces pulled at its hull. Systems failed across all decks. In engineering, Kim fought to keep the reactor from going completely critical. Hull integrity failing. Cho reported through gritted teeth. Structural collapse imminent. Reroute all remaining power to structural integrity. Lee ordered. "Echo, give us everything you've got." The AI worked furiously, using its quantum processors to reinforce the ship's failing systems. For several terrifying moments, it seemed like the Prometheus would tear itself apart. Then, gradually, the quantum cascade began to fade. The alien fleet hung motionless in space, their ships dark and powerless. The Prometheus had survived, though barely. "Damage report," Lee called out, pulling herself up from where she'd been thrown to the deck. "Hull breaches on decks 4 through 7, Cho responded. "Weapons offline. Shields at 3%. But we're alive, Captain. And so is the colony." Through the view screen, they watched as the massive alien fleet drifted helplessly. They had done what seemed impossible. A single experimental human ship had defeated one of the most powerful forces in known space. "Open a channel to their flagship," Lee ordered. "Let's see if they're ready to discuss peace terms now." The quantum cascade had proved that humanity wasn't just capable of copying alien technology. They could weaponize it in ways its original creators had never imagined. The Meridian Collective would have to decide whether to accept humans as equals or risk facing more of humanity's desperate innovation. Debris from the battle drifted through space, silent testament to humanity's first major confrontation with an alien civilization. The Meridian Collective's fleet had retreated an hour ago, their once proud ships limping away on auxiliary power. In their wake, they left behind not just wreckage, but a fundamental change in the balance of power among the stars. The Prometheus floated in orbit above Horizon Point, its hull bearing the scars of combat. Emergency repair crews worked tirelessly to stabilize the damaged systems, their EVA suits visible as tiny points of light against the ship's dark surface. The experimental quantum reactor had been safely contained, though Chief Engineer Kim warned it would need weeks of careful maintenance. Captain Lee sat in the ship's main briefing room with her senior staff, reviewing the data they'd captured during the battle. The holographic displays showed detailed scans of the alien vessels, their technology, and most importantly, their communications. This was just their scouting force, Commander Cho reported grimly, highlighting a series of encrypted transmissions they'd intercepted. There's a larger fleet out there, much larger. By Echo's analysis, what we faced was less than 5% of their total military strength. The room fell silent as this information sank in. Lieutenant Kwan spoke first, her voice determined rather than afraid. But now we know we can fight them. Echo has already analyzed their weaknesses. Their technology is more advanced, but it's also stagnant. They haven't truly innovated in centuries. Captain Lee nodded, studying the tactical projections. The Prometheus had proved that humans could not only match alien technology, but improve upon it in unexpected ways. Earth scientists would be analyzing the battle data for months, developing new defenses and countermeasures. Earth Command is sending reinforcements, Lee announced. 3 battle groups, including 2 more ships with experimental systems based on what we learned from the crashed scout ship. They'll arrive within the month. On the colony below, celebration lights could be seen even from orbit. The 50,000 colonists of Horizon Point had survived their first alien encounter, protected by human ingenuity and determination. More importantly, they had shown the galaxy that humanity would not be easily conquered. Engineer Kim's voice came through the comm system. Captain, you should see this. We finished analyzing their shield technology. The improvements we made, they're already asking for our designs in exchange for peaceful contact. From enemies to trading partners in a single battle, Commander Cho mused. They respect strength and innovation. We've shown them both. The briefing room's windows offered a spectacular view as Proxima Centauri rose over the colony's horizon. The red dwarf star painted the scene in crimson hues, a reminder that humans had not only reached the stars but would fight to keep their place among them. Echo, show me the long-range scans, Lee ordered. The AI compiled the data, displaying the positions of known Meridian collective assets throughout the sector. Their territory was vast, but no longer seemed insurmountable. The next time they come, Lee said, studying the tactical display, they'll find more than 1 prototype ship waiting for them. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our numbers. It's our ability to adapt, to think differently, to find solutions where others see only problems. The crew nodded in agreement. They had faced humanity's first major alien threat and emerged victorious not through overwhelming force, but through innovation and courage. The Prometheus would need extensive repairs, but it had proved its worth beyond any doubt. As the briefing concluded, Captain Lee made her way to the ship's observation lounge. The massive windows offered an unobstructed view of Horizon Point below. The colony's dome gleamed in the starlight, a beacon of human determination. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. The Meridian Collective would return, possibly with technology adapted to counter their tactics. But humanity would be ready. Already, shipyards throughout the solar system were incorporating lessons learned from this battle into new vessel designs. Lee touched the window, her fingers tracing the outline of the colony below. They had done more than just defend a single outpost. They had announced humanity's arrival on the galactic stage. The next time the Meridian Collective came, they would find not just a single prototype ship, but an entire civilization ready to stand its ground. The stars seemed brighter somehow, full of both promise and challenge. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe, and there would be no turning back. The dawn of a new era had arrived, written in quantum fire across the stars.